So I'm standing backstage, freaking out, running my lines, and Mike Myers walks backstage.
Happy New Month!
Happy New Month, Chad. Happy New Month, everybody.
Today we have a special episode where we're going to talk about improv and the improv that we do every single day when we're talking to scammers. And we have a special guest, Antoine McKay, who is a professional actor, who's been in a number of things like Empire,
He played Bunky.
Southside. Yeah, he played Bunky in Empire. Southside. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. I without naming all of that stuff. And his wife, Michelle, she will be with us too. She's does some acting and some writing, and they have their own production company now called Sheltwan Productions. They are co-producers of their own production company, and they're putting on their own stuff as well as some of the other stuff that they do. Guernsey McKay, they say that right?
Yay, good job.
Guernsey, that's fun to say. Guernsey McKay.
Very British.
Welcome, and Antoine. I haven't seen you in forever. I took improv classes with Antoine that first got from Groupon. Got a little Groupon. Went and took some improv classes, and then I kept going back, and then there was hiatus, and then it was I think it was 2021 even, or was it still 2020 when I did the Zoom improv class with you? I don't remember when that was, but
It actually was, man. Because we were all like terrified and afraid of each other. First of all, thanks for having me, man. It's really cool to, first of all, seeing you do this because you are freaking hilarious, and this show, the podcast that you guys have, is wonderful. And John, thanks for having me too, brother. I really appreciate it.
It's great to meet you both.
Yeah.
You and your wife.
Same here, brother. Yeah, man, you and I go back to like the grassroots of when I started the company, and me and you, we were both Michigan boys, and there's just a connection when you meet man, I have been in Tibet and somebody's been like, Antoine, and it's like the guy that grew up down the street from me. I'm like, why are you in Tibet? It's like Michigan boys and Michigan people just always like find each other wherever we are. But yeah, man, you were a wonderful talent, man, and it was always such a pleasure to work with you. And just thanks for having us tonight, man. We really, really appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate being here. One of the things that like I get asked, and I'm sure John does all the time as well, when we're doing this and doing our channel on TikTok, is how do you have the patience to talk to these scammers for so long? How do you have the patience for this? And for me, I'm just having fun. Like you had said, playing. I'm just improvising. I'm just coming up with solutions to their problems. Ultimately, they have a problem, and I don't. One of the things that I learned, because I always had trouble with this one, was asking too many questions. And instead of asking questions, and there's times where you have to ask questions, but like I try to come up with alternative solutions to their problems, and they don't always appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And I've seen your work, and I just remember, gosh, when you first started doing that, I remember seeing like the first 20 of what you did and just weeping like a child because it was so funny. I'm like, Chad, you have grown. Well played, sir. Well played. But yeah, and that's the beauty of improv, if you want to put that on the table. It, regardless of the state of being or the conversation, it puts you in a place and it prepares you to answer and open up because what's really cool about improv is that we are the most beautiful lexicon. Like everybody, we're the most beautiful lexicon that we could ever have. And for us to be allowed to put that into play is really wonderful. And what you do with what you guys do with that lexicon is it's really special. It's really special. Entertaining. Um, Sometimes you make people run to the bathroom because it's just too good. But yeah, man, like the growth of you that I've watched over the years is it's really incredible, man. It's really incredible. Like not only like confidence wise, but uh uh the intellectual acumen that it requires to do what you guys do, and sit in the places that you guys sit, and the emotional availability that has to be there. Honestly, uh, it's really beautiful. So yeah, I'm really glad to be here with you guys. So thank you for having
I
us.
Bright is the shadow that my true love casts. Dark is the light he shares. If I could only have one more night, I'd forgive him, I swear.
with the last Zoom class that I took with you, I felt so much more comfortable doing improv by that point because I had been doing this for a while than I was before, and I just, again, one of the things we talked about, just kind of repetitions and doing it. And this is the difference here too, is a lot of times I'm typing and I have time to think about what I'm going to say, and it doesn't have to be instantaneous, but still those repetitions of coming up with that stuff. And you'll see when I'm on the phone, because I'm not always ready for, sometimes on the phone I'm on it, but sometimes on the phone I'm like awkward because, again, I'm talking to sometimes it's a guy pretending to be a girl, and it's just it has its own set of
Sometimes.
awkwardness to it. And I am not the most, socially, what's the opposite of awkward? Socially literate,
Suave, good one.
suave person. So I'll get on the phone in these situations, and sometimes I just, and I've learned to just lean into that too, like just let the awkwardness be awkward, and that can be okay too. So I felt a more confidence in when I did it that time with you. But one of the first things I want to talk about too, like for our audience, are the rules of improv. So if you could like kind of share the rules of improv.
The rules of improv I learned from Rico Bruce Wade, who's East Lansing boy, much like yourself. And he gave me my career. I always, every time I see him back here in Michigan, I go, "Thanks for my career." And he's like, "Stop it, Antoine, stop it." But uh, improvisation, revolves a lot around a lot of things. Again, back to our own personal lexicon and what we learn, and how you know conscious we are about what is going on in the world. But there's three basic rules. First one is yes and. Always say yes. So yes, comma, and. Yes, and add to it. And I always issue this to my students. How many times in your life do you say no when you can say yes? Are you saying no out of fear? Are you saying maybe out of fear? Or if somebody says, "Hey, let's go commit a felony," like no and I'm walking away from it. But
Is that Jim Carrey movie? Yes, the Yes Man or something like that.
exactly, yeah. I mean that is like a beautiful example. While we see Jim Carrey as this, everybody's like crazy. He's a wonderful actor, by the way. Seeing him do that movie and the things he said yes to, what did he get to? He finally got to the point where he was in a place where he existed in a peace that a lot of people don't have because we say no. I'm not saying again, like that's an extraordinary example, but saying yes sometimes shuts down the negativity in our life. Saying yes moves us forward, puts us in places that we may not think we should be. Like, man, me and you have been talking about doing this show, and I've had stuff going on. I've been working, um, and like I'm like, I want to do the show with Chad. I'm like, yes, but I have this thing going on. Yes, but I have this thing going on. But eventually, the yes got us to this point where we're talking, and we're getting to share this information with people. And a lot of people are deliriously misconcepted about the fact that saying no protects you. It doesn't. It just doesn't. When you say yes, you move forward. You invite the unknown. You gain insight into the mentality of the next step, and you grow as a human being. And it opens you up, and that's the scary part about us as humans. We're afraid oftentimes to look as if we don't understand or know something that we're stepping into, so we say no to it. And that's, personally, from my perspective, a bad way to live. If like this beautiful woman sitting next to me, if I wouldn't have gone, hey, we're gonna role play real quick. Um, Hello, my name is Antoine. We went to high school together, and I haven't seen you in a long time. I think you're pretty. Would you like to go out with me?
Yes.
Bam. So now we've been married for 4 years.
There you
because
go.
you saw my moves. You saw my moves. But then, but so but hey, how you doing? You want to go out with me?
No.
Bam. It's over. Nothing happens. We don't have the amazing life that we have together. It just stops everything. No.
I want to throw in. I want to throw in one thing from the what we do, the scam baiting thing that we do. Another question that John and I get asked all the time is, why don't you ask them for money first? Why don't you call them out? Why don't you call them out on their bad grammar? And there's plenty of reasons for that. But why don't you ask them for money first? Because that's the no. That stop. Like right. 9 times out of 10. 9
Show
times out of 10.
over.
Yep.
Dude, and I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant on both your parts. It's like it's that intricate and it's that deep, and we don't even think about that because we process so fast as human beings. The most educated, and people who haven't had the opportunities that a lot of people have had, we process so fast that we don't allow ourselves space to think, to say yes. And man, it's really funny. It's really funny. What do you think, babe?
Yes.
I have something for you in my shirt. Boo! Come on.
Well, I mean, yes, all of that is 100% accurate. And I like there's that nuance that you guys have when you're engaging with these, whoever they end up being, as it's like a dance. It's like, you have to figure out exactly how to answer them in order to get them to keep, going with what their nonsense is, whatever it is. I mean, and I have a question actually real quick. How quickly do you know whether they're scams or not? Like, is it almost
Instant.
Is it really? Have
It's
you gotten to
instant.
the point where it's just like,
Especially after having done it, for this long, it's pretty instant. Even the ones that are really good that I think that I might be on the fence about, like 50-50. I wouldn't even say 50-50 at this point. Maybe the old me would have been 50-50, but at this point I'm like, I'm at least 90% sure this is a scammer, and then I'd kind of do research to fill in that other 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Like even with the better ones, I had one. I just talked on one of the previous podcasts about this one that I had, and it was really boring. So I didn't really post it on TikTok. I posted one episode just to show it. But I talked to this person for over a year. It was like a year ago, and then she disappeared after talking to me for a month. She talked to me for like a month, okay, a year ago, and then she came back to me, and then she started talking to me and talked to me for like 4 months. And it was boring conversation, but she would give me like all these. She was studying to be a veterinarian, and she'd give me all these details about her studies and whatnot, never asking for money. And finally, she kind of hinted at needing money, but I didn't bite, and so then she backed off. So it was one of these like long game. Like when I finally posted it on TikTok, they found for me the real person really quickly. And she's got a TikTok, she's got a big social media on Instagram, and it's like as soon as if I don't want to do the research, I can post it on TikTok and somebody will find it for me like that.
wow.
So where is this, just through TikTok or is it Facebook? And
Well, where I'm finding the scammers, I get the scammers on Instagram. And I actually have, at this point, because when I first started, I would get them from a variety of places. But now I actually have a fake Instagram with my dumb pictures on there, and it's all scammers. So the whole thing is filled with scammers and scammers in my inbox. So anytime I need a new one, I just like some pictures on some of those ones that follow me, and I'll try to get them to message me first, or I'll go to ones that have slid into my inbox. Yeah.
okay, this is
Fascinating.
Okay.
This is brilliant.
I'm in the middle of rewriting a pilot that I just did a rough draft on. It like you're talking, and all of a sudden these ideas are hitting my. Okay, so
It's like,
I've got to
good
write
night.
it down.
I wanted
We'll see you
I wanted
soon.
to go.
I wanted to go to your yes and thing, because that's probably the part that, and sometimes I have to remind myself too, but like I try to find the smallest thing that they say, because they're just trying to get money, and they're just trying to hold on a small conversation, but they say like the smallest thing, and I will make it into a big thing. Like don't tell anybody. There was a girl that was supposedly in the military, and she was overseas. Don't tell anybody. And I'm like, are you in danger? Like, are there spies that are listening in? And all of a sudden, she's just trying to get money, and I'm concocting this whole scheme of there are people that are listening in. I need to be careful. Are there people at my window? I remember in one older one, I sent videos of me looking out the window and a car driving by, and me saying, I think that's somebody watching my house. So that's part of the picking something small and then just being like the yes and to it that I've learned, from improv, like finding solutions. Like we had, my favorite bit is when they're far away is like, hey, yeah, why don't you come visit me? I'm like, how about this weekend? Yeah, this weekend sounds good. I have a fake plane ticket. I send them the screenshot. I'm coming. And then watch them try to back out of it. That's one of my favorite bits is the fake plane ticket, and I'm coming.
Oh my gosh, that is genius.
Okay, so like you have a whole like a
The
side gig.
whole math.
But wait, you have a whole
Oh,
side gig
oh,
potential with art department
right,
and production. You like
exactly.
have props and everything that you're. It's beautiful. Oh my god, that's amazing.
So I actually fake plane trips to these women, where I'm sitting right in this chair here, and then I'll take an airplane window. I'll take a YouTube video of airplane wing going over clouds. I'll put it all together. I have the captain's voice on there. I have a flight attendant come through, and it was during the pandemic, so I had the mask on, And I'd be like, "Hey, I'm not supposed to have my phone, but I just want to tell you I'm on my way to come see you." And I'd send it to them like, "No, you're not supposed to come visit me. I'm not going to be here. I'll have to go visit my cousin in Arizona. Why are you coming to California?" I was like, "Well, I'm on my way." And flight attendant, "Sir, I told you to put down your phone."
And if you haven't seen John, as he has these characters too. Like, he works at Walmart for real, so he has a character, Aunt Rita, that he'll dress up like a woman, and then I'll if I need something quick, I'll message John. I'll be like, I need Aunt Rita, and I'll tell him the situation, and he'll send me a video of Aunt Rita, and he's like, do you want me to just talk, or do you want to leave space for you to respond to me? So then it looks like I'm holding up the phone, and I'll argue with him or Aunt Rita over the phone, and I'll send that to the scammers, and then they'll start cursing out Rita. It's pretty funny. Don't go to that store anymore. Go to a different store.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys,
That is fabulous.
I'm really trying to.
There's so much potential here.
I'm trying to keep it.
Oh, I almost want to be a part of this. Like, can I
Like,
be a
dude, I'm
character
like,
too?
listen. It's like, how much we got on us right now? Hey, look, we can come to y'all and talk to y'all because we got a little bit of money on the side. We can come talk to you.
That's fabulous.
Oh my gosh, that's genius, guys.
Hey, baby, what are the other 2 rules of improv?
So let's get back to the rules of improv. The second rule is do not deny, which means never not say yes. Because again, it just stops the action. It stops the forward movement. You guys have clearly, through our last segment, explored yes and to a whole nother level.
Aunt Rita.
Yeah, we got to Aunt Rita. When Aunt Rita starts talking, we're yes-anding. We are yes-anding the moment. But what's cool about that is, like, do not deny. Again, how many times do you say no in your life when you can say yes? How much life are you stopping? Bringing it back practically is, how much life are you really stopping? I just remember when I lived across the street from a huge park that had a tennis court, swing sets, soccer field, basketball courts, and I'm sitting there one Saturday. I'm watching Michigan play Iowa, and I am so into it, and I'm having a great time literally standing in front of the TV, watching the game. And my kids come out and go, "Hey, Dad, can you take us to the park?" I'm like, "Just a minute, just a minute." They asked me like 300 times. And eventually I got around to taking them out to the park. But it was like, 40 minutes later, 50 minutes later, almost an hour later, taking them to the park. And the street that separated my house from the park was literally what? I'm going to be generous and say it was 30 feet wide. And they could just went across the street. I have an older son who was older than, he was like 11. He could have just walked them all across the street. And I could have watched the game and been fine. I created tension because I said, hold on, or denied them those moments. And if I said yes, they could have just went across the street and played in the park. Now, take that into like real life as adults. Well, that's real life as an adult. But when you're living every day in your workspace or wherever you are, what is it that's stopping you? And I was artist in resident at the University of Michigan. in the psychology department, and I got to teach a class on um, why we say no in those moments, and it talked about the brain and what our brain does and our amygdala, and there's a spot in our brain. And I worked with this guy named Dr. Bill Gehring, who was the last man who discovered a brainwave on our planet. Okay, so I got this gig, which is out of this world. Um, and there's a time and there's a space that our brains live in where we go, am I going to make this choice? And sometimes that our brain freezes, like you drinking a Slurpee, and or does it move forward and or does it move back? Man, it was absolutely fascinating to see that. And what triggers that is often fear and uncertainty and history and yes, that's
Assessing danger.
assessing danger. And it's like
That's what our brains are wired for.
but danger in a lot of places equals saying hello in some cases. You know, I mean, that's how deep it goes. It's either it could be a visceral reaction or something as simply as hey, Chad, your coffee's ready. And you're standing in the corner at Starbucks going, I'm not Chad. I'm not Chad. I'm not Chad. I'm not. And there's fear there for people. There's really critical fear there for them to step up and go, thank you. Or just grab it and leave. But it was a really, really wonderful class and very, very fascinating. But that leads me back to, again, the second rule of improv. We deny ourselves when we say no. So do not deny means don't stop. Say yes. And second rule reiterates the first rule. Keep going. Keep going. And the third rule of improv is don't ask a lot of questions. Which, here's my thing, I really, really struggle with. These are, these are things that were created in the 50s, 60s, these questions, or this structure, these rules. I think Antoine McKay differs from that because I think you need questions for information, and if you don't have it, you can't move forward. So, which again harkens back to what you guys do. You guys throw yourselves at these people like it's really actually brilliant because you are, while you know what you're doing, you're still making yourselves very vulnerable at opening up to them. You're giving them your time first and foremost, but still you're making yourself present in that moment and living with that particular person, whether they're a scammer or, which, 99.92 times, percent of the time they are. Have you got, okay, then that being said, how many times have you guys ever met somebody that was actually legit? Yeah.
And not trying to get money from you.
Never.
Well, yeah, we're
Never.
at this point. I'm trying. I mean, I've got the fake profile. I'm trying to find scammers. The only time when it's not is if it's somebody that has seen me on TikTok and they are asking for help. Which, we have a lot of people that reach out to us, asking for help or wanting to tell their story. And we should try to get some of them on our podcast too at some point too, because some of them are very willing to tell their story.
Well, because like there's the potential to invest like years of time into this relationship.
Exactly.
And it's just, yeah, that's
Exhausting and
Yeah,
exasperating.
and
We've talked to people, particularly women. I know I've talked to men who have had, but men are usually, a lot of the scammers try to get quick money from men, but then like in some of the older cases, they have continual long relationships with them, and they keep sending money to them as well. They always have excuses not to meet, but a lot of times the longer term ones are women with like a military, a military person overseas that's trying to get home and can't get home, and they'll send lots and lots of money.
crazy.
yeah,
I've talked to women that thought they were engaged because they paid the army the necessary engagement fee or the fiance fee for $5,000. They sent it to the army, and now they're engaged to this person. And meanwhile, everything just went to a scammer overseas somewhere, and they're convinced that they're engaged to this person.
I am like
That
that
breaks
is
my heart, really.
And that's a small amount, 5,000. Chad and I
No,
both
but
have
I-
talked
yeah,
to people.
crestfallen by that because, man, that's your heart, man.
Yeah, it's not just the money. Like I've talked to people who are their families kind of broken apart because of it, because they have a parent who will not listen to them. They have a child who has autism, who thinks that the parent is trying to control them and doesn't want them to be happy. I talked to a woman at one point whose husband, they had a young toddler child, and he left her and went to Texas in search of this woman who was not real. Like families that they've broken apart, it's very sad.
And that I can see this being very dangerous for people who have autism, who aren't able to discern nuances, or there's I don't want to say that they can't lie. They don't understand deceivement so much.
yeah.
I'm a special ed teacher. I have my master's in autism. So I was a teacher for 20 years. So I can see this being a very dangerous thing that would happen for people
Yeah.
on the spectrum. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. But as soon as you said that, it was like, oh, crap.
Yeah,
And
I've talked to a lot of parents who have a child, and a lot of times it's hard to convince. I've had a harder time convincing men than I have women, and it seems like it would be easier, to be honest with you, convincing the men, because usually it's a porn star, and I can be like, look, here is pictures of the porn star. We can show you who this is. And with the women, it's usually a military guy we can't find online. Or they're hard to find online. You have to find them in, like, you can find like web pages of pictures of military men that are commonly used, but they usually scrub their social media when they start getting used. So with the women, I'm like, well, this is the porn star, and they're like, I have, like, yeah, we've talked about this.
I think the loneliness as our society, the societal loneliness that exists, especially after the pandemic,
Yeah.
goes so deep that we have no idea. We truly, truly have no idea. When I started teaching classes live and in person, or in real life, excuse me,
IRL.
with people, the I saw the social dynamic of what used to be just normal kind of fall to pieces and become very clunky, and people asking questions where I was like, look, here's what we're doing. The man is going to go over here. The person after the man is going to come next to the man. That's it. And they're going to be like, where does the man go? And it's like, okay, what's going on? There was just no connection because we have not been connected, and we dismiss that on so many levels every day. That's where we find people who are disgruntled, they're angry, or I mean, all of us are angry in varying degrees. However, um, watching that breakdown, after that, watching that breakdown was not only fascinating but sad and deplorable, because that spoke to what we've built to this point.
It's digital age that we have.
And it broke my heart, because I watched my children go through it with school, like having to sit on a laptop and not communicate, and becoming frustrated with it. And we were trying to help out as much as we possibly could, but it's like, dude, you got to do the work. I'm not going to sit here and type on your laptop
Well-
for the next 2 hours. But we saw them not being able to actually communicate with another human being, which they had dismissed already because they were on their phones. But that being said, when it really came to the actual separation from person, oh man, it changed everything, because you not only intellectually dry up because you're being stimulated by all the external stimulus that exists, but then you start, what really happens is you have to start thinking and developing for yourself, oftentimes before you're ready to.
Yeah, that's the whole social media thing. Growing up in that social media realm, like, we're older, so we grew up where it wasn't.
But we're
so much
still
a thing.
sexy. We're still
Stop
sexy.
But the challenge that environment brings to adolescent brains, you know what I mean? It changes the way that you interact. And then, I mean, you guys have the extra challenge that a lot of times these people are in other countries, correct? Like, they aren't just
Yeah.
American con artists trying to do things. They're from other countries, and they're
So 99% of the scammers that Chad and I speak to are from Nigeria.
that's crazy.
Really?
And there are scammers in every country of the world, and we acknowledge this. But the ones that reach out to us just so happen to be from Nigeria.
Yeah,
So what
romance.
do you have against Nigeria, brother? What
That's
are you
what they
talking
say.
about?
Listen, they are very mad at me on TikTok right now, and I don't back away, and I respond to them, and I make it worse, and then they report my channel. It's a whole thing. But Ghana, as far as the romance scams, Nigeria and Ghana primarily are the countries that are doing the romance scams. They're always like, "What about India?" I'm like, "Well, they're not. They're doing like telephone scams. They're doing
That's not us.
And Bitcoin, like Philippines is big in like the Bitcoin type of scams that send you stuff on your like. But we're doing romance scams, and that's mostly you guys. And I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry.
When you meet on a dating app where everyone is meaningfully verified, there's not much else to worry about. All verified blind dating from Dating Square. Date smarter.
How much money do you think these scammers are making?
A lot. So from what I have found out, the average citizen in Nigeria makes about like 50 to 60 US dollars a month. Okay, that's an actual, like, a regular working person. Scammers are making like that a day. I mean, because they're talking to multiple people, and they'll have somebody that sends them $50. That's a month's salary for somebody else. So there's and then you've got some of the older ones that are sending them $5,000. I talked to somebody who gave like $60,000 for a down payment for a house or something like that. Like, the amounts of money that some of these guys are getting rich on. It's a marketing scheme where what they do is they have somebody who has become successful enough that they have a house or apartment, and they'll bring young boys in and they'll train them, and they'll get a part of commission of what they're selling, and then those guys will go out once they've made enough, they'll get a house, they'll train guys, and it's a big marketing pyramid type of scheme where people at the top are making more money, and they're
what?
That's crazy. Okay.
They're known as Yahoo Boys. If you've ever heard that term, Yahoo Boys.
Have you ever heard of anyone coming from like the Solomon Islands and doing anything like this?
I haven't. Chad?
I don't even know where the Solomon Islands is.
Over by Australia. It's a group of islands. They have like darker skin but blonde hair and blue eyes. They're gorgeous. But yeah, okay, just curious.
It's the people that got it and got kicked off of Australia. And it was like, oh, it's like that Aborigine is fine. That white dude is fine. Let's go find an island.
if you want to come back to some of the improv yes and stuff, so they have, and we'll do an episode on this at some point. We gotta pick up on this, but they have money mules here in the United States because they can't, like, some of the things, either they're people that are being scammed themselves, who are just transferring money for them in money laundering, or they're people that are in on it that are taking a cut of it, or there's some Nigerians that live here too that are helping and taking a cut of it and in on it. But anyway, like when with Cash App, they can't set up Cash App over there, so they need somebody here to have the Cash App. So they always, whenever they want like money sent from Cash App or like PayPal or something like that, they're like, hold on a minute, are you ready? And then they're going to have to contact somebody to get the account, send it here, and then they want a screenshot so that they can then do all this. But if they ever have an address, and this was one of my early things. I don't know if you ever saw this, but one of my early things, I got an address to a place, and there was another person on TikTok at the time who had sent a glitter bomb to an address, and I didn't want to copy him. So I have since done that, but I sent, because on what's that show, John, with Mark Cuban? Shark Tank. On Shark Tank, yeah, they had this potato parcel service that would send notes on a potato or a picture on a potato and send that out. So I was like, I had that as an idea. So I sent a potato with my picture on it and a note on it to this scammer. And that's been one of my, I haven't been able to do that in a while because I haven't got an address in a while, but it's awesome getting a picture and then them cussing you out because they got a potato in the mail. Because not only are they getting a potato in the mail, but I know it's happening because the money mule is sending the picture of the potato to the scammer overseas, who's then sending the picture back to me and going, what the F is going on here? And it's just, because the way I work anytime I watch like movies or things, I think about the things behind scenes. And with this, same thing, like I'm thinking about the conversation that those guys are having. Same thing when I photo edit a payment on Cash App, I think of the conversation that those guys are having. Hey, here's the screenshot that he sent of the payment. And they're like, wait a minute, I didn't get a payment. And I think of those conversations and I'm entertained by it. So that's how I have so much patience to answer the question of all those people out there who ask me this.
Yeah, so those are the rules of improv. Not sure how I helped this evening.
Well, yeah, and we've gone pretty long here. Were you going to say something? I was going to say I have other things on here, but I've got a couple things I want to get to before we wrap up. I think I know where we can slip the break. Yeah, he told us beforehand to take a break so that he could do a commercial. I have a spot earlier where we could probably slip that in. I thought of that because, I don't want to stop the conversation necessarily for. But I mean, you could take a break here, but I have a feeling we're almost done anyway. So they probably want to put the break in the middle somewhere, right?
Yeah. If
you want to. Those of you that are editing, you could put the break here. Otherwise, I have another suggestion for you, which I'll tell you about later. The one thing I did want to do this for fun because I wanted to have a more fun side again to this episode, and I have two of my own. But I'll ask Antoine first, and then John. I think I told you about this ahead of time as well. Can you think of the most ridiculous, like a ridiculous improv moment that stands out to you, or just a memorable funny improv moment that you remember from all the hundreds of thousands of improv shows you've done?
First night into writing the new short show at Second City, Chicago. I came from Detroit main stage and went to Chicago main stage at Second City. And we start writing the new show. And I'm standing backstage freaking out, okay? Because Chicago main stage is hallowed ground, man. It's like, it's a fraternity. It's different. You're in a different place. So I'm standing backstage, freaking out, running my lines. And Mike Myers walks backstage. Oh. And he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey." He's like, "I'm Mike." I'm like, "No shit." He goes, "What's your name?" I'm like, "I'm Antoine. I'm Antoine." And he goes, "Do you know where Joyce is?" Because Joyce Sloan, Tony Award winner, Joseph Jefferson Award winner, one of the creators of Second City, was still working in the building. And he's like, "You know where Joyce is?" I'm like, "Mm-mm." He's like, "How long have you been in the show?" I was like, "Tonight." And he's like, "We're going to be okay, buddy. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay." So, and he says, "We're going to be okay." So, boom, cut to the show, do the show, get through it. Great. Had a great show. House packed. We get on stage together and he goes, we start improvising and he goes, so we get the suggestion. It's like somebody says, "Give us a relationship." They're like two brothers and one of them is not all there. I won't say what they actually said, and so I played the brother that wasn't all there, quote unquote. And so we're doing this scene, we're getting laughs, and Mike goes, "Hey, buddy, give me that toy over there." I was like, "Which one?" He's like, "That one. Why don't you sing about it?" And I'm like, "Oh, man." So the piano player starts playing this blues riff, and I sing my guts out. And thank God for all of the singing training that I've had, and how much I love the blues. And I do it, and I'm able to turn it back around on him and go, "Your turn." And he's like, "I got nothing." And everybody in the place just erupts. People are throwing babies in the air. It is just fantastic. And after we finish the scene, he walks over to me and he puts his hands out like this, and he goes, and I was just like single glory Denzel Washington tear rolls down my face. Not that I was being whipped or anything like that, but it was like the next day when I walked into the building, the producer came up to me and he went, "You transcended last night. Welcome to the game." Nice. And walked away from me. That's all he said. No good morning, no nothing. He's like, "You transcended last night. Welcome to the game." And that was just like, we will rock you. So I went to the rehearsal that day, and it was just it was spectacular, man. So I don't know
That's
if I
awesome.
questioned or not,
Oh,
but
like Myers anointment there, huh?
yeah, it was that night. With
That's a
Mike.
great story.
Antoine, you didn't give him a "we're not worthy, we're not worthy."
Okay, dude, but you know what, John? Like speaking to that, he came backstage before we introduced him and everything before we went out for the improv set, and we're back there drinking and hanging out and laughing. It's like, yeah, great show, and I was on a really great cast, and he comes backstage and he's laughing and joking around, and then one of my castmates, Lisa Brooke, goes out and we all come out on stage for the set and she introduces him. And there was this woman that was in the show the whole night that was just like,
In the audience.
it's like, you guys suck. And when he came out, she went from to she exploded into joy and a whole auditorium stood up. The whole audience stood up when he walked on stage. And it was like literally, now we all know how long 3 minutes is, right? 3 minutes of applause where he had to go, stop. And they just kept going and kept going and kept going. And he was just like, stop. And then they just kept going because he was in town doing Oprah for Shrek, the first movie, and it was just mind-boggling.
Crazy.
It was great. And then the next night, Cameron Diaz and Antonio Banderas just happened to drop by, and said, "What's up? How you doing?"
No big whoop.
No big whoop.
You have no idea how many times we're just watching whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they're really nice." I'm like, you met them too?
People have no idea, man. I've been acting for
Crazy.
36 years now. 36 years now, and like people have zero idea how many people I've worked with or know. And it's just like I don't like, I'm not like tooting my own horn or anything, but toot. It's like I've worked with a lot of really, really wonderful people. And if you asked me to list them right now, you'd go, no way. What? And only 3 of those people were assholes, and everybody else was cooler than the other side of the pillow. It was just like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent.
That's all right. You know what? That's way better than anything that we have, I'm sure. And we've gone way longer than this is going to be our longest episode. I'll tell you that.
Sorry.
Don't apologize.
That's fine.
Please.
Don't at all.
Gwendolyn back here at the Daggett Farm. She's spindling.
How'd we get here? How'd we get here?
I had two of my most ridiculous ones through this catfish that I was going to bring up, and the one has become my merch, which I'm wearing. Pig Trust. I made up a phrase with one of the scammers I was talking to that I was talking to, that I trust you like the pig trusts the mud to keep it cool. And throughout the next like 3 months, that scammer would continue to tell me, remember that you trust me like the pig trusts the mud? Please trust me like the pig trusts the mud. Please have pig trust. And that scammer kept bringing it up. So it gained life. And every scammer since then, whenever I'm posting, I will have people in my comments going, you need to bring up pig trust. You don't have pig trust with this one. And so it's become a thing. And I've got pig trust merch. And then my other one is, this one is not my own, and I don't know, like, I am convinced a lot of the grammar things that happen are they're using voice to text, and with their accent, things come out weird. I don't know if it's that, if it's a copy and paste translation mistake, but when the scammer told me that her mother had truffle butter cancer, and my response was, that is bad, but it sounds delicious. And then I found out from TikTok, because I did not know, I found out truffle butter is something naughty as well. So I have no idea where they got this from, how this happened upon this whole thing. But that, we like, again, just yes and the truffle butter cancer.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a great evening.
I really wanted to
So it's not Mike Myers, but
You Google it after, but don't do it with the kids around.
Yeah, the truffle butter thing, that one, I did not, somebody pointed that out to me on TikTok. I was like, that is, I had to Google it.
You don't know what truffle butter?
Yeah, but like,
I learned something.
I'm sorry.
And John, did you have a ridiculous improv one that you?
So I use pig trust with all my scammers. I have to work that in at least once, and I always give you credit in some way to the scammer, whether you're the great prophet Chad once said. So, but I borrowed one from Seinfeld, the great episode where they went to India, and George was telling everybody, you can stuff your sorries in a sack, mister. So I use that whenever a scammer says I'm sorry, and if they ever question it, I'll say that's a very popular phrase. I said, where are you from again? And they're like, oh yeah, I know that phrase. Because, I want them to think that's an American phrase that, if someone says I'm sorry, you can stuff your sorries in a sack, mister. But I didn't make that one up. I borrowed it from Seinfeld.
yeah, that's funny.
Oh my gosh. Fuck you guys.
The one I did make up was Earth years. When they ask how old I am, I always tell them I'm 53 in Earth years. How many Earth years are you? And not one of them's ever questioned why I'm measuring years in Earth years, since we all live on Earth anyway.
Serious.
Oh my gosh. Chad, thank you guys for having us on. We really are grateful, man. John, thank you so much.
Oh,
It was great to meet you both.
Thank you so much for being on. It was great chatting with you and great seeing you again. It's been a long time. I wish you were around here so I could take another improv class from you. But my kids keep me busy anyway. It's probably going to be a few years before I have evenings to do that. That's true. In my mail truck on my phone.
But guys, thank you so much. Blessings to you.
If you are contacted by a scammer like this, just block. Don't engage. Trust me, it's not worth it. If you want to learn more about how to protect yourself from scammers like this, check out the nonprofit Defend's website at helpusdefend.com.